Let me talk about adoption. There are so many different types of adoption out there, but my focus is about inter-country adoption. Inter-country adoption is when you adopt a child from outside of the United States and then bring them home here in the US for a child to live with you. So if you are planning to be moving on that direction, then this video is for you. To be more specific on the content of today's video, I am going to be focusing on the adoptive parents' eligibility to adopt a child, and I am also going to be talking about the eligibility of the child to be adopted. My name is Charmy. Me and my husband is at the early stage of our inter-country adoption process. Please join us in our adoption journey by subscribing to this YouTube channel. This way, you will get a step-by-step update of where we are in the process of this inter-country adoption. Our goal is to share our experiences and struggles in this process. And we are hoping that somehow this video will help you through with your own adoption process and makes your adoption easier and faster somehow. Let this experience that we share be your guide and learn from it. Hopefully, you are not gonna be making the same mistakes that we have did in the past. We would also love and appreciate to receive comments and suggestions to make our journey easier and faster. I believe that adoption is a way of sharing your blessings by way of providing a home, love, and care to a child that needs them. I also believe that adoption will make you a better person because you are actually being responsible by taking the responsibility of being a parent to another innocent human being. If you are thinking about inter-country adoption, you need to ask yourself, as an adoptive parent, are you eligible to adopt a child under the United States federal law? Anyway, what are the United States immigration requirements for you to do an inter-country adoption? Our main source of information in this video is the US Department of State website. In the US Department of State website, you will find the Philippines inter-country adoption information. I actually included the actual website address right here on this video content. If for any reason you are planning on traveling to the Philippines, please note that the United States government has a travel advisory to all the US citizens traveling to the Philippines. And it was issued on April 9, 2019. The advisory wants us to practice caution in traveling to the Philippines because of crimes, terrorism, civil unrest, measles outbreak, and kidnapping. But the risk is high only on some part of the Philippines. Me and my husband, we regularly travel to the Philippines at least once a year so that we can see and visit our prospective adoptive child. But please take note that going to the Philippines is not a requirement on this inter-country adoption process until you are granted custody of the child and the adoption is finalized. The Philippines is a part of Hague Convention on Protection of Children and Cooperation in Respect of Inter-Country Adoption. What that means is that the adoption process in this country is done in accordance with the requirements of the convention, the U.S. implementing legislation, the Inter-Country Adoption Act of 2000, and the Inter-Country Adoptions Implementing Regulations, as well as the implementing legislation and regulations of the Philippines. It is important to find out if the adoptive child's country is a member of the Hague Convention, because the first legal document that you're going to be filling out as adoptive parent is dependent upon whether the child's country is a member of the Hague Convention or not. To bring an adopted child to the United States from the Philippines, you need to meet certain suitability and eligibility requirements set by the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, or USCIS. USCIS is the one that determines who is suitable and eligible to adopt a child from another country and bring that child to live in the United States under U.S. immigration law. In order to adopt under the U.S. immigration law, you need to be a U.S. citizen. If unmarried, you need to be at least 25 years old. If you are married, you must jointly adopt the child. Your spouse must be a U.S. citizen or has legal status in the U.S. And you must meet other requirements in terms of criminal background check, fingerprinting, and home study. Aside from the U.S. immigration requirements for adoptive parents, the Philippines also has their own list of requirements in order to adopt a child from the Philippines. The Philippine requirements talks about the residency, the age of adopting parents, the marital status, the income, and other requirements. If you are a U.S. citizen and currently living there in the Philippines, you can also start this inter-country adoption process. But you have to be a resident of the Philippines for at least 3 years before you can file a petition to adopt. And you must stay in the Philippines until the adoption is finalized. Or if you are like me, which is residing here in the US, then there is no residency requirements for us. The Philippines has set an age requirement for the adopting parents. You must be at least 27 years old. You must be 16 years older than the child, and the age gap between you and the child must not exceed 45 years. The marriage requirement for adoptive parents is that you have to be married for at least 3 years because you have to file jointly on this inter-country adoption. Single applicants are also eligible to adopt child between age 6 and 15 under the waiting child program. If the prospective adoptive parents has history of divorce, the inter-country adoption board will consider adoptive parents that has 2 divorces or fewer than 2. The Philippine law does not recognize same-sex marriage, but at the same time, they does not forbid gay, bisexual, or transgendered applicants from applying to adopt individually. So I'd like to point out that those who have history of 3 or more divorces will have a bigger challenge that you are going to be facing, so just be ready for that. Another challenging requirement that makes this inter-country adoption process more challenging is that they require an adoptive parents to have a minimum annual income of $40,000. So if you are planning to adopt, make sure you are at this minimum annual requirement. Other requirements is that you must not have been convicted of a crime. You will obtain references from community or religious groups and from people who knows you. You need to have at least a high school diploma and a BMI below 35. BMI is a body fat measurement based on your height and your weight. BMI greater than or equal to 35 is considered obese, and obesity is an acceptable medical condition for prospective adoptive parents by the Inter-Country Adoption Board. Obesity puts a person at high risk for cardiovascular diseases and diabetes. So there you go. Those are the eligibility requirements for prospective adoptive parents to be found eligible to adopt a child from the Philippines. Now that you know that you are eligible to adopt, the prospective adopted child living in the Philippines also need to meet certain eligibility requirements to be available for adoption. The biological parents must relinquish the child through a deed of voluntary commitment, or what we call the DVC. DVC is a legal document that allows the biological parents to release the child to the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or the DSWD. Without the DVC, the child will not be available for adoption. The child must be under 15 years of age. Sibling adoptions are encouraged to stay together in adoption. Teenage siblings may also be adopted separately through the Waiting Child Program. Children under the Waiting Child Program must be older than 73 months old or must have special needs or medical conditions. Once the adoption is finalized, the adoptive parents must complete a 5-day bonding period within the country before departing the Philippines. If you like my video content, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel, which is my name, Charmy Johnson. And don't forget to like or share. I promise you that I will upload one video at least once a week. Watch out for my next video because I will be talking about the process of inter-country adoption, which involves 6 steps. Thank you for watching.